Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast, brought to you by DirecTV, 1-800-259-7646. Also brought to you by RVWheelator.com. If you're buying an RV or selling an RV, check out RVWheelator.com and the Dollar Shave Club. Here's John and Heidi.
Thank you so much for listening on a Friday. Can you believe the weekend is upon us?
I cannot.
I'm kind of excited. It's going to be nice. This summer is going by so darn fast. We have two kids. We've got a son that just graduated this year, and then we got a daughter that's a freshman this year. So we've got a daughter that's going to be going back to school, and our son is actually joining the Navy, which is crazy.
He
so
is.
excited. He got 61 on his ASVAB.
That's fantastic.
Amazing.
I'm so proud of that kid.
I am too. Very, very proud of that young man. Hey, only 8% of American women have an hourglass figure. The waist measures at least 9 inches less than the bust. Most new clothing are designed to fit that shape. But again, only 8% actually fit that shape. So why do they design clothing that only fits 8% of the population? Does that make any sense whatsoever?
Because it's ideal.
Okay, even if it's ideal,
That's what everybody wants.
I have some clothes hanging in my closet that would be ideal if they would fit me, but they don't.
But they don't.
Only about 8% of my clothes fit me as well. So I have to do a little dieting, I think. Coming up, we're going to talk about a way to strengthen your heart and your muscles. It's coming your way in a bit.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Get razors for $1 a month plus a few bucks shipping, so you can enjoy fresh razors every month for as little as $3. Learn more at dollarshaveclub.com/radio.
Exercising for 30 minutes a day will not only strengthen the old heart and the muscles, it'll also strengthen your brain. If you work up a sweat for just a half hour, you'll be able to learn faster, remember more, think more clearly, and recover more quickly from brain injuries. So they're saying exercise is just a pretty darn good thing all around. So if you disagree with that, then just sit around and do nothing. But they're saying go out and do a little exercise. 30 minutes a day is all they're asking. That's not much.
That is not much. I think we've been doing that.
We've been going for a nice little walk.
Yeah.
And our puppy dogs have loved it. We've got 2 dogs, and I better be careful because they can hear
when
us.
they hear
where we're
that
sitting.
word.
The W-A-L-K.
Yep.
They're starting to learn how to spell. Do you notice that? Because now when I say, should we go for a W-A-L-K, they're like,
I don't think they can
I think they know what it means. Because we usually,
I'm pretty sure they cannot spell.
Well, they just know that when I spell that particular thing.
You think so?
It's not that they know that how to, I don't think they know how to spell many words, but I think they know how to spell that one.
I don't think so.
Hey, speaking of dogs, coming up, we have a survivor dog. We're going to tell you all about this one in a bit.
This portion of the program is brought to you by RVWheelator.com. If you want to buy or sell an RV, go to RVWheelator.com. List your RV for free. Learn more at RVWheelator.com.
Very interesting story here, and you know it's true because you heard it on the radio. So every once in a while when, the pet shelters around the country have too many pets, nobody's adopting them, they have to put them to sleep. And it's really sad, and it really is. Well, that's what happens. That's where this story starts. They had some dogs that were being gassed in a chamber. They put the dogs in there. They did their thing. They came back to open the gas chamber, and one of the dogs was standing there. The others were not standing, but one dog was standing there wagging his tail and smiling. And the lady that was in charge of running this thing said, well, I don't have the heart to close the door and do it again. So they saved this. I don't know how you pronounce this. Basenji Basenji mix. It's an orangish colored dog, 30-pound puppy. Believed that she beat the odds. She should live on. They've named the dog Quentin now. I don't know if that has something to do with San Quentin. I have no clue. I think that's an interesting name to choose.
This story just breaks my heart.
It breaks my heart too, but it's such a cool story that the dog survived, and they said, that's awesome. You know what? You're going to live. We're going to let you stay. And they're working on getting the puppy dog adopted. Rosemary Ficken is the one.
Why didn't they work on getting the dog adopted before they put him on the gas chamber?
Heidi, I'm telling you right now, I was on the board for a humane society in my hometown many, many, many years ago. And the reason I got off the board, by the way, is because I said, I can't make these decisions, guys. I just can't. I want to help. I'll do whatever I can to help. But at the end of the month, they would go through and say, okay, this dog's been here this long, this one's been here this long, this cat's been here.
This makes me so sad.
It is very sad. And for those of you who are on those kind of boards and have to make those kind of decisions, hats off to you. I can't do it. If I would have stayed on that board, I would have owned 900 dogs by now. I'd be like, I'll just take another one. I'll take those home with me. Can you put them in my car?
Yeah, there's no way I could do that. There's no way I could do that to a dog.
It's sad, but it's a very cool story that this dog is a survivor. And speaking of survivors, on the program today, we're going to teach you how to be a survivor. I have Debbie Gardner with surviveinstitute.com, and she's going to teach you how to survive all kinds of cool stuff. So be listening later in the program, right here on The John and Heidi Show.
The John and Heidi Show is brought to you in part by the Keystone Treatment Center.
This is your brain, and this is your brain on drugs. We share silly stories here on the program, but addiction is no joke. If you or someone you know suffers with an addiction to drugs or alcohol, make today the day you seek help.
Call toll-free 844-204-1055.
That's a toll-free number. Again?
844-204-1055.
And this is your brain on drugs. Now, this one's a little old, but it was because it happened on this date in 2001. That's why I'm using this. 2 bungling heroin smugglers were jailed in England after they put $715,000 worth of heroin into their car's fuel tank. But the diesel ruined the drugs and made the car break down. So, not learning from history, they tried to smuggle $1.4 million of heroin in using the same exact method. This time, the police stopped them. The car was seized, the drugs were seized, and the drugs were also ruined as well.
You'd think whoever those drugs belonged to would have whacked them after the first mistake.
$715,000, that's a lot. And then $1.4 million, that's a lot of money.
I can't imagine
to just throw in a gas tank and pour diesel on it. You know, somebody's going to be mad.
Bad idea.
Very bad idea. So there you go. That's what happens when your brain is on drugs. Coming up here in a bit, we've got your moment of duh. Also on the way, we have your scoop of the day, and we'll be visiting with Debbie Gardner with surviveinstitute.com on this edition of The John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Keystone Treatment Center. Addiction is no laughing matter. Call Keystone Treatment Center toll-free at 1-844-204-1055.
When you're tired, right?
Yes.
If you need to take a nap, does it matter where you take it?
Yes.
It might.
Yes, it
might.
Does.
Especially if you're on a narrow ledge 20 feet above the pavement. A man had to be rescued by firefighters after he fell asleep on a 2-foot ledge 20 feet above a Norwich street over in England. The man apparently climbed onto the ledge because of the heat. Then he fell asleep on the ledge. Strangely, he stayed asleep even after rescue efforts tried to get him to stop from falling. He slept through the rescue operation, only woke up after fire crews started using their noisy aerial platform. By that time, they had lassoed the man's feet, and they dangled a rope down through an open window. After they pulled him back into the room, the man in his 20s ran off. According to one of the rescuers, the crews did an excellent job considering they had to make eye contact with him the minute he opened his eyes. So it's interesting that he would have done that. He fell asleep on a ledge. All he would have had to have done is move a couple of inches and he would have fallen off.
Huh.
He was laying on a 20-inch ledge, which is, what's
must
that?
Be a very, very sound sleeper.
And must be a pretty slim guy because I couldn't lay on a 20-inch ledge. That'd be too much of me hanging off the ledge. All right, we've got your scoop of the day on the way.
The Scoop of the Day is brought to you by Wells Blue Bunny. If you want delicious ice cream, be sure to look for the Blue Bunny. Sure to have your favorite flavors. Learn more at bluebunny.com.
Now, your scoop of the day. An international group of scientists report that simply inhaling the aroma of a hot cup of coffee can alter the activity of some genes in your brain. So saying you don't even need to drink the coffee, you just need to smell it, and it will reduce the effects of sleep deprivation. That's good news.
That's very good news.
So when they turn the coffee pot on in the house and kind of get things rolling, even if you're in the other room sleeping, it's already starting to work on you. I love the smell when you walk into like a coffee shop, like when you first open the door and you just got to kind of
no better smell in the world.
Oh, it's probably something better, but that's a good one. A man at a recent Broadway play looked like an absolute idiot. He needed to recharge his phone, so why not climb on the stage and plug my phone in here? Here's the problem. The outlet that he plugged into wasn't even a real outlet. It was part of the set.
Oh, what an idiot.
Didn't help, but it did make for a really good YouTube video that made him look like a moron. In Kenya, President Obama said Africa needs to generate millions more jobs than it's doing now. Here's my question, though. Why is President Obama in Kenya telling them they need to create jobs? If you want to create jobs, create them here. Wouldn't that make more sense?
It absolutely would make more sense.
So I'm not exactly sure why he's there doing that. A study suggests that manatees can hear 10 times better than humans underwater. I don't know that humans hear really well underwater. Like when you're underwater, I suppose you can hear noises, but manatees can hear 10 times better. Huh. So why do we need to know that?
I don't know how they would know that. I don't know. I don't know what kind of a study they're doing to figure that out.
They're asking the manatees, raise your fin if you are your flipper. What do you call those things? Paw? I don't know what that is. Hey, let's move on. Teen drivers often understand that shooting a quick text message or playing with the radio or eating while driving is dangerous, but the overwhelming majority of teen drivers are doing it anyway. According to a recent study by AAA and 17 magazine, about 9 in 10 drivers, the actual percentage is 86%, say that they have driven while distracted. Now, 84% say they do know it's dangerous. So that means 2% didn't know it was dangerous that we're doing it, but the other 84%, they knew it was dangerous and they were still doing it anyway. Kids, don't do it. It is dangerous. Parents, don't do it. It is dangerous. Heidi and John, we shouldn't do it. It is dangerous.
Agreed.
It's a bad idea. Medical research indicates that people who have a daily drink are more likely than teetotalers to survive a heart attack and less likely to develop heart failure. So, Heidi, you are set.
I'm good to go.
You're good. The more Americans engage in one of their favorite pastimes, sitting around, the shorter their average lifespan, a new study suggests. So this is all about sitting on your tuchus. The effect remains even after researchers factored out the obesity or the level of daily physical activity people were engaged in. According to a study of more than 120,000 American adults. So they're saying if you're sitting on your tush watching a ball game, you're sitting on your tush watching a TV show, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's really dangerous.
It's going to shorten your lifespan. We've been going for walks. We talked about that earlier, and it's been a whole lot of fun. It was funny because the other day we were walking and we had somebody stop. I thought they were going to see if we needed a ride. They're like, oh, two fat guys walking down the road. You guys
they
apparently
clearly can't be doing that on purpose.
I'm sure your car broke down or something. Positive that's what it is. This one sounds too crazy to be true. Word has it that a burglar in Japan broke into a woman's home and stole all of her money, but for some reason he felt sorry for the traumatized burglary victim, so he actually gave her a receipt for the things that he stole. The receipt included his name and address, of course.
Oh my gosh!
In the event that she wants to get her stuff back, so there's no way that she can do it without a receipt, right? It only makes sense. Well, that doesn't make a ton of sense for him, but apparently that was made it very easy for the police to catch this idiot. All right, are you ready for your strange law?
Yes.
In Montana, it is a felony for a wife to open her husband's mail. You would be in so much trouble.
Felony everywhere. I mean, you're not supposed to open somebody else's mail, right?
I don't know how that works when you're married, but you open my mail all the time.
Well, yeah, only because you don't care.
I don't. It's not that I don't care. I don't even know what I get. You're like, oh, somebody sent. We sent you a card. I'm like, you sent me a card? And he's like, yeah, that was nice. I sent a nice thank you. I'm like, I didn't even see the card. All right, this has been your scoop of the day. Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by RoughToughKennels.com. Dog kennels and accessories sent to your front door wherever you live. Your dog deserves it. Learn more at RoughToughKennels.com.
Thanks for joining us on a Friday. We've got Debbie Gardner on the phone today with SurviveInstitute.com. How you doing, Debbie?
Terrific.
I've been on the website, and you've got some great resources here, but let's talk about this first. You're a 60-year-old female. That's not who most people would think about when it comes to survival skills, but let's talk about your background.
My claim to fame is I was one of the first women patrol officers in the United States of America in the early 1970s. And very quickly, you learn the truth. I'm 5'3". At that time, I was slight build, a little bit more poundage on me now that I'm 60. 3 problems back in those days, John. Number one, I signed up to be a cop, no problem. But we were the yellow canaries going in the cave. Can little women handle it? I wasn't prepared for the public, mostly supportive, some just upset at the sight of a woman showing up at their 911 call. And then, of course, you have a few folks you work with, most supportive, but a few who, as my one sergeant told me, was determined to make sure I didn't make it. So very quickly, when you live with fear every day, you learn how to cope. And you learn how to get strong. And so here's what I learned. Ready? Yeah. The winner in violence is the person who's breathing when it's over. Yeah. I had to get in control of me to handle frightening situations, whether I had a supervisor calling me out in the police department because he didn't want women in policing, or whether I had a nutcase on drugs with a gun in his hand in a run with a backup 10 minutes away. So you have to deep belly breathe and grip your hands when you're scared to circulate on purpose oxygen and blood. In addition to that, you must get the monsters out of your mind. You must get the exaggerations that says, oh, my God, this is worse than it is.
Yeah.
No. Stay in the second that you're in, and you can handle it. So mind control is critical, and that's a discipline. And you know what's sad? John, nobody talks about these three facts: oxygen, blood, positive thoughts, and the ultimate positive thought is visualizing your family when you're afraid. Because we are rescuers, never victims, when we believe we're fighting or in control or digging deep for the love of our family. Does it make sense to you?
Yes, definitely. And if you're fighting not just for you, but for them, I think you fight a little harder, too.
The weakest woman in your neighborhood, I can take her and change her life rapidly, as we do with corporations who send their employees all over the world or nationwide traveling. And these, especially women, have been programmed to be afraid at night. They shouldn't be alone. They shouldn't be in the parking lot. Stop it. If you don't walk alone and talk to strangers and allow your mature teens into their college age, these are rights and freedoms. They cannot take steps paralyzed with fear. The generation today of parenting says, if I can keep my kids scared, I can keep them safe. No, you've got to keep your kid breathing deeply from their stomach, pumping their hands when they're nervous. And by the way, the fact that they have it wrapped around a cell phone is fabulous. It's kind of like a baseball bat where you grip it, and it circulates blood by default. And then realizing, say to your family, as I've said to my own now adult kids, listen, we're gardeners. We can do anything because we love each other. You will find a way because you are coming home. So then the ultimate in this very short interview, following the truth that I learned as a little deputy sheriff. I had to be in control of me because I had no backup. And by the way, back in those days, John, believe it or not, there was no radio on my body. When I stepped out of that police car and went to a bank robbery in progress or domestic violence or a bar fight, I was by myself. I had nothing.
That's crazy.
People can't comprehend that. So you deep belly breathe, and then you realize quickly that in a worst-case scenario, so let me just skip a lot of what it is that I teach in 2 hours and go right to the point. The winner's the one who's breathing when it's over. Therefore, in an absolute worst-case scenario, when there is no prevention, you are in life and death struggle. Put your hand in the position of a love. What I mean by that is stretch your thumb out.
All right.
It kind of looks like the stop sign, the traditional body language stop sign.
So,
put that stop sign up and demand that people back off. You can use vulgarity if you care to, while stepping back. John, that is critical for setting up the law. The law says you're allowed to use self-defense to defend against physical harm, serious physical harm, or the threat of physical harm or serious physical harm.
So you put your hand up like stop, and then you take a step back.
The criminal assumes that you're stepping back because you're scared and weak. No, sucker, I just stepped back to establish the law that I'm allowed to strike you, because when I step back and you step in, you have now created threat.
Okay.
Isn't that brilliant?
Yeah, that's really cool.
Okay, so in addition, if you happen to have your cell phone on, please do teach this to your young kids. Turn the video camera on whenever you're nervous, walking alone, taking higher risk than normal. If you have a job at a pizza joint at 1 in the morning and you have to go to your car, this is called reasonable for a high schooler or a college student. Stop terrifying your kids, parents. Tell them to walk with their video camera rolling when they're in high risk. Because when they then step back, that is all being recorded.
Yeah.
In a worst-case scenario, the winner's the one who's breathing when it's over. You take that cell phone or your hand in the position of love, and you strike that person's throat. I find it appalling that we can find the phrase, go for the throat, on greeting cards at Hallmark.
Yeah.
But you won't find it on public crime survival information.
This has been great. I wish we had 5 more minutes to talk. I'll be definitely calling again. Debbie, thank you for your time today.
My pleasure, John.
And you have a great day.
You too.
Debbie Gardner right there. You can learn more about Debbie and watch videos at surviveinstitute.com. Thanks for listening to The John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by carsforsale.com. If you're in the market to buy a car, truck, or van, find thousands of vehicles to choose from at carsforsale.com.
Today is a very special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
Thought you'd never ask. It's Friday, the 14th day of August, National Navajo Code Talkers Day. I would say that in Navajo, but I don't know how to.
Okay.
So, National Navajo Code Talkers Day. Also, VJ Day, so happy VJ to you. It's Shop Online for Groceries Day, and it's Worldwide Art Day. All of that on the 14th day of August. And I'm looking on my other list here. National Creamsicle Day today as well.
There you go. There's one. That's
something
good.
to celebrate. Yummy. And if you buy that online, you'd be celebrating 2 of those. See? That's how it all works out.
Who buys groceries online?
I don't. I've never done that. And maybe there's somebody that does, but I've never tried that.
I don't know.
Do they bring them to you then, or how does that work?
Maybe in cities.
Could be. I don't know. I'm a country mouse. I don't know how any of that stuff works. We're like, what does online mean? All right. Anyway, get out there and celebrate with a creamsicle today. It is Friday, the 14th day of August.
This portion of the program is brought to you by StoneGroupArchitects.com. It's more than a building. It's design and function working together. Check out the project portfolio at StoneGroupArchitects.com.
I have.
Not
yes.
recently, I'm sure, because
Well,
I
no.
would kind of notice.
Yeah, you would know. 'Cause
We are together when you're sick or not sick. If you're calling in sick when you're not, you better be careful. 1 out of 3 bosses are into the game. They know what's going on. A new CareerBuilder.com survey shows 33% of workers have played hooky from the office, calling in sick when they were not, at least once this year. 33% did it at least once. 31% of employers have checked up on an employee who called in sick. 18% have let someone go for missing work without a real excuse. About 9% of workers who played hooky admitted to calling in sick because they wanted to miss a meeting. They wanted to buy some time to work on a project that was already due, or they wanted to avoid the wrath of a boss or a colleague. Others missed work for these reasons. 30% said they just needed to relax and recharge. 14% said, I want to run some personal errands. 34% said, I just didn't feel like going to work that day.
I just didn't want to.
11% said, I want to catch up on housework. Really? 27% said, I wanted to go to a doctor's appointment. That one makes sense. 11% said, I wanted to spend time with family or friends. If there was somebody in town, I could see that. And then 22% said, I just needed to catch up on some sleep. Of the 31% of employers who checked up on an employee who called in sick, listen to this. 71% said they required the employee to show the doctor's note because they supposedly went to the doctor.
That's understandable.
56% called the employee at home that day. Hey, just wanted to check and see if things are going okay. Yeah, you really care about me. You're just making sure I'm really
You're
home.
just checking.
18% had another worker call the employee because they figured, hey, you're going to probably tell me instead of them. Hey, everything okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm at Disney World. What are you talking
I'm
about?
having a blast.
It's awesome. I'll send you some photos. And 17% drove by the employee's house or apartment. That is crazy. I've never done any of those things, ever. Like if somebody called in sick, I believe they're sick. And if they're not sick, do what you want to do. That's fine.
I think we had an employee one time that we checked.
Well, I remember we had somebody whose mother died, and then a month later, her mother died again. I was like, that's what you called. Do you remember that? She said, I got to go to a funeral. My mother died. I said, she died again? And then I found out, no, that was my stepmom that died a month ago. This was my biological mom. Then I kind of felt bad because I was like, wait a minute. Your mom died again? Anyway, if you'd like to know more, Career Builder put out that little survey. I think that's funny. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by DirecTV, 1-800-259-7646. Also brought to you by RVWheelator.com. If you're buying an RV or selling an RV, check out RVWheelator.com and the Dollar Shave Club. Here's John and Heidi.
All right, this is kind of a gross story that we're going to tell here. Jarvis Emst of Gilwis, Poland. I didn't even say all that. He had a cancer on his tongue, and he had to have his cancerous tongue removed. Ew. Doctors were able to construct a new tongue for him using tissue from his butt.
Ew.
Yeah. They sewed it into his mouth, and they said blood is circulating into his new butt tongue, and he appears to be doing well. This just sounds disgusting. It sounds made up, but it's true. I'm sorry. You're giving me the funniest look right now. It's a true story. It happened in Poland. He had a cancer on his tongue, which is awful, had to have it removed. They were like, well, we can make you a new tongue.
You think all his food tastes like
You cannot say that on the radio. No, I don't. What are you doing? I knew I shouldn't have let you in here today. Why don't you just take a little break? Oh, boy. Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Friday.
This portion of the program is brought to you by GunUp.com. If you're a gun lover, you'll be in heaven at GunUp.com. Built by experienced military veterans, shooting sports competitors, and publishing professionals. They have awesome stories and articles that are read by millions of gun enthusiasts. Check it out at gunup.com.
If you strike oil, that's good, right? Usually?
Yeah, usually.
But there's sometimes when it's not. And that's when you strike oil with your water supply. The discovery of oil usually is a celebration. Like, hey, we struck oil. Bingo, we're having a party. But the U.S. Air Force Base in Texas, not such a party. A sludgy black substance has polluted their tap water at the Randolph Air Force Base. And it's the famed black gold, Texas tea. A little bit of oil there made the state rich, of course, in Texas. But their base has about 12,000 people that have been affected by the contaminated water supply. Now they're being supplied with bottled water for the residents at the base. So they're saying, well, it's awesome that there's oil here, but be kind of nice if we could drink water here, too.
Yeah.
So I wonder what's going to happen with the oil. Do you think that since it's on an Air Force base, will the Air Force get to use that oil? Will they get to keep that and put it towards their budget, do you think?
The United States government will put it wherever they want to.
I have a feeling that none of that's going to go to somebody else completely. They're like, wow, we're not really in the oil business. Let's give it to this guy that donated to my campaign.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. You can get razors sent to your door each month for just $1, plus a couple of bucks shipping. It's an amazing deal. Log on to dollarshaveclub.com/radio to learn more. That's dollarshaveclub.com/radio. Now, back to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
Getting a pet could actually help children with autism. If you've got a child with autism, consider getting a pet. Listen to this. It'll help them develop their social skills. If the furry friend is brought into the home when the child is about 5 years old, there's a new French study that says that is the best age. Researchers found that children with autism who get a pet after age 5 show improvement in their abilities to share with others and to offer comfort, whereas those who had a pet since they were born and those who never have a pet showed no such improvement. So they're saying if you have a child with autism, get a pet when they're about 5. If you have a pet before that, doesn't affect it. If you don't get a pet, doesn't affect it. But they're saying if you get a pet at that age, there's some magical little trigger, according to this French study. That's interesting. When you were a kid, did you have a pet?
I did.
What kind of pet did you have?
I had a dog.
Was it Nuggie?
Nuggie.
I remember hearing stories of Nuggie.
Nuggie was the best dog.
Did you just have one dog the whole time you're growing up? Mm-hmm. So how old were you when you got this puppy dog?
Well, when I would say I was 4.
4 or 5?
Yeah.
And then you had that dog till you were like in high school, or?
Yeah, we had to put Nuggie down when I was a senior.
Oh.
So.
When I was a kid, we had numerous dogs. We had one dog named Pokey, and we got Pokey from somebody who they were an older person and they wanted to get rid of this dog, and they wanted us to put the dog down. It was a Yorkie, and my mom said, "Well, can we just keep him?" So we adopted this dog. So we had this dog at our house. That dog was so old. It was old when we got it. It was a gray little furry dog. And then we had it for like 10 more years. I'm like, how old is this dog? And then I remember one of the weirdest things that we had dogs that had weird names. Like we had a dog named Whiskey. Mm-hmm. You know, you come from a great childhood home when my dad drank whiskey. So we had a dog and we're like, what should we name it? We're like, it's the same color as whiskey. Let's name the dog Whiskey. And we had another dog named Max. And it was named after a beer from back in the 80s, Max Beer. I don't even know if that's still around.
I've never heard
back
of
in
Max
the day,
beer.
It was cheap beer that my dad would get. And so we had a dog named Max. So, yeah, I clearly come from a really great childhood there. But anyway, if you do have a child with autism, consider getting a furry little friend right about age 5. Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by DirecTV. Call 1-800-259-7646. They have hundreds of channels to choose from, with many packages to fit your viewing desires. Learn more at 1-800-259-7646.
We always try to end this program with something positive. And I shared this on our Facebook page the other day, facebook.com/John and Heidi Show. So if you want to go check out the entire list, you can. But if you ever find a jar of something in the refrigerator or an unopened can in the shelf and you wonder, is this safe to eat this? You might wonder, how long is this good for? Well, Time Magazine put out a list of real-life expiration dates for those hard-to-know items, both food and non-food items. So if you find something in the house, even if it's like shampoo, you're like, oh, wow, I've had this for like 10 years. Is that still good? You can check the list. Time Magazine has it. We have a link going directly to it on our Facebook page. From soy sauce to green olives, from shaving cream to perfume, you can check out the list and see, how good is this? Is this going to kill me? I hope not. You and I come from two different trains of thought on that. When there's something that I think might even be slightly old, I'm like, get rid of it, pitch it, gone. You are coming from a completely different school of thought. You're like, just cut around the mold. It'll be fine. I think you've said that exact phrase to me once.
Mold is actually, certain kinds of mold are very good for you. What do you think penicillin is made of?
You know?
Most cheese is mold.
I just don't, it's not my thing.
It just doesn't bother me.
I pulled out.
Especially if it's just a tiny bit on a piece of bread, pull that hunk off and it's fine.
I've done that before. I'm like,
I know I've done that before.
It's like,
it does not bother me.
It bothers me. I didn't know I was a germaphobe till you and I got married because you were so disgusting, some of the things that you'll do. I'm like, what was that? You're like, it's fine. Like, did you just drop that on the ground? You're like, it was only there for a minute. It's like, it was on the ground. We're at a petting zoo. You don't eat that off the ground. What are you doing? Okay, that's never happened. But
that has never happened.
But you have a much higher germ tolerance than I do. I'm not a germaphobe that has to like douse myself in Purell and stuff like that. But I don't like.
You're pretty bad.
No, I'll do this when I wash my hands in a restroom and I see all these other people leaving and not washing their hands. I'll wait till someone else is leaving and I'll walk out the door because I'm like, I'm not touching that knob that everybody else just walked out without washing their hands. I washed my hands. Someone's going to come through the door. There are times you have to wait a while. Then you can stand there like an idiot.
Why not just use a paper towel?
I've done that too. If there's not a lot of traffic, I'll grab a paper towel. But I
see now what I enjoy doing.
Yeah, I know this is so gross. And share.
Because I know there are other freaks out there like you that are so obsessed with, oh my gosh, I might have a germ on my hand. I'll go to the bathroom and then I will wash my hands and leave them soaking wet. And then when I go and grab the handle to leave the bathroom, I run both hands up and down the handle so it's soaking wet. So the next person who grabs the handle,
you are so bad,
thinks that someone didn't wipe properly. And
so there's people out there right now that are going, Heidi, that's who does that. I've wondered
but they
who
could never
did
know
that.
For sure. I mean, they could think it was me, or it could be somebody
something
who didn't.
else completely.
It's funny. It makes me smile the rest of the day.
I can always tell. You'll come back. We'll be at a restaurant. You'll come back just smiling. I'm like, you did the thing, didn't you? And you're like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did.
It's either that or they have one of those high-powered hand dryers.
I love those.
And then she'll take photos of her face
I
blowing
stick
in
my
the...
face under it. It's awesome. It's the coolest thing ever. If you go into one of those bathrooms and they have...
high-powered air
They're super
blowers.
high-powered. I can't think of what they're called.
Isn't it the one from Dyson?
There's a name on them.
I thought it was from
No,
Dyson.
it's not Dyson.
All
But
right.
anyway, it blows out really, really hard and really fast. You'll know if it's the right one if you
dents
put your
your skin
hand
when you
under
blow.
it and your skin is just jiggling all over the place. That's the one you want to put your head under.
And if you get a good
And if
selfie...
you can have a friend with you to take the pictures, it's better. And
This
if you get those selfies, put them on our Facebook page.
This is why women go to the bathroom together, isn't it?
In case you need
Can you
to
take a photo of this quick? Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Sorry we went a little long here at the end. Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
Time now for the bonus break. Only available here on the John and Heidi Show podcast.
And the bonus break is brought to you by the Dollar Shave Club. You can learn more at dollarshaveclub.com/radio. Thank you so much for listening to the bonus break, by the way. We really do appreciate that. I got a bunch of stuff that we're going to talk about on here. I've got, where should we start? Because I'm going to save all of this because I got so much to
I have no idea where you're going, so I can't tell you where to start.
That's the way it works. I like
Start
to
at the
keep you in
beginning.
the dark.
That usually works the best.
Good idea. When you check out of a hotel, do you ever take anything with you?
Well, like the shampoos and stuff, yeah.
21-year-old Ken German did. He's facing 5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. He stole everything. The towels, the TV, the refrigerator, the microwave, mirrors, lamps, 2 wall pictures, linen towels. He was easy to find. The motel's owner called the police and gave his name and his address and his phone number. He had to give all of that when he rented the hotel room.
Whoa.
When they got there, authorities, they searched the apartment. They found everything. Police told him, I just wasn't thinking clearly at the time. No
Really?
kidding. You took everything.
It reminds me of those books that I love, Letters from a Nut.
Oh, yeah.
And one of them in
Tracy,
these
what's
books.
his name?
Ted Nancy.
Ted Nancy, that's what it is.
In these books, this guy writes these letters
I think it's Jerry Seinfeld.
to different businesses. Just these bizarre letters. And the one that I was thinking of just there is he had to write a letter in advance to this hotel he was going to stay at, letting him know I'm a kleptomaniac and I will steal everything, and I do mean everything from the room. So to protect yourselves, make sure you have everything numbered so that when you come to pick it up from my house, we'll know which dresser is yours, because he's trying to say he's got a whole house.
Got a whole warehouse full of stuff.
Of dressers and
the
stuff.
guy in those
They're so funny. And then the responses you get back from these businesses are just hilarious.
Letters from a Nut.
Yes,
That's
Letters
the name of
from
the
a
book.
Nut by Ted Nancy.
We should see if we can do interviews with authors. We'll see if we can get him as an
Would
interview.
love that.
But I don't think we will, because I really, truly think it's Jerry Seinfeld.
I don't know.
Ted L. Nancy doesn't exist.
No,
I've
I know he
looked.
doesn't.
So that's a pen name for somebody. Jerry Seinfeld has written the foreword in these books.
Yes.
I think it really
Oh,
is
they're
Jerry.
just so funny. So
Anyway.
funny.
Hey, let's head to Springfield. The Simpsons. Okay, maybe it's not that Springfield. Springfield, Massachusetts. There's a woman there that had her car stolen. Thinking quickly, she called the number of her cell phone, which was in the car. The thief answered. She explained, hey, I really, really need my car. I'm going to give you $1,000 on the spot right now if you bring it back. Oh, okay. I'll do that.
Oh
Her
my
next call was to
gosh.
the police. She explained the ransom deal. Authorities figured that nobody would do that. Nobody's going to... The guy can't be that dumb. Wrong. Stolen car pulled up to the curb at the right moment. 19-year-old Christian Blondo was arrested. He was like, wow, I don't have to even try to sell this one. I'm getting $1,000 clean
Wow.
cash. Yeah, like I said, he pulled up to get the cash, and the officers walked over and said, are you a moron? Apparently you are. And interesting story here. Modern-day DNA research is confirming the biblical account of Adam and Eve. Because there are folks out there that are going, we come from monkeys. Well, according to modern-day DNA, scientists that are doing this say this research is confirming the biblical account of Adam and Eve. Genetic experts, Charisma News answers in Genesis, says here, Georgina Purdom has recently released a document explaining her findings and the scientific support for the records presented in Genesis. She points to studies that show that by focusing on the DNA, scientists have been able to evaluate that all men and all women can trace their roots back to one man and one woman. Everybody. Everybody that has DNA. Do you have DNA?
Yes.
I got some DNA. We both do. So we all came from one man and one woman. Research also shows that if evolution were true and men and women had been roaming the planet for years, we would see that in their DNA and there'd be more genetic diversity, meaning that you might have evolved from a chimpanzee and I might have evolved from an ape. Why is our DNA both coming from one man and one woman? So it's a very cool thing. And if you'd like to know more, that's online. And it's the...
it's fascinating. Although
Charisma
I will
News.
say I've never doubted that.
Nor
so.
have I. I've never doubted that. I'm a Christian. I believe that the Bible is accurate. I don't think that it's... And even Darwin, who came up with a theory, later said, you know what? I was wrong. That's not right. That can't be right. If I came from a monkey, why are there still monkeys? So
Those are just the slower ancestors, apparently, that were never able to evolve.
I think it's really funny. There was a guy that was talking about this little kid that came to mom and dad and asked, where do we come from? And dad said, well, I'm trying to think of how the thing went.
You're a captivating storyteller.
I know. I'm very good at this stuff. I'm a professional speaker. People like me. How did it go? Oh, I know. The mom was explaining to the boy. He said, Mom, where do we come from? And she said, Adam and Eve, and da-da-da, and went through and explained all that stuff. And then he said, well, Dad said we evolved from monkeys. And the mom, very quick thinking, much quicker than me apparently, said, I'm telling you about my side of the family. Dad's telling you about his side of the family. So I thought that was funny. All right, that's going to do it for our bonus break. Wow.
Did you know your shirt is inside out again today?
I did. I did it on purpose today to see if you'd notice. It took you 4 hours to figure that out?
No, I noticed. I was just like, why does he keep putting his clothes on inside out?
I did it to see if you'd notice. I should probably change that before people show up. Thank you so much for joining us on the John and Heidi Show. The bonus break is brought to you by DollarShaveClub.com/radio.